So for step one of making your puppet body, you are going to choose 2 pieces of felt, or you could have brought your own fabric to make your puppet body with. You're going to set one piece of fabric in front of you and place the other piece of fabric to the side. The next thing that you are going to do, you have a template in front of you. This is going to be the body template. And notice how this is going to be almost exactly the same height as the fabric. So make sure that your template is centered and that no part of the template is hanging off of the fabric. The next thing that you need to do is start tracing. So everybody is going to get a pen. If you have a darker piece of fabric, it's not going to show up this pen, it's not going to show the pen well, so you are going to have to use a white or light colored piece of oil pastel. So you're going to take your pen and notice on the template it says make a dotted line as you trace. So everywhere you see a dotted line, you are going to make a dotted line as you are tracing. It does not have to be the same size as the dotted lines on the template. Just so you make a dotted line everywhere you see a dotted line on the template. Some people may have fabric that extends down lower or higher than your actual template. So you're more than welcome to draw a straight line because you will be cutting there, or you can just let it go and don't worry about tracing that. We're going to continue on making a dotted line. Once you are done tracing, you're going to lift this off and you're going to do 2 tracings, one for your first piece of fabric and the second tracing on your second piece of fabric. Place your template onto your felt or fabric that you're using, making sure that it is nice and centered. We're making a dotted line everywhere you see a dotted line as you are tracing. Lift the template off. Set your template to the side, and now you have 2 tracings on both pieces of fabric. The next step of this process, you're going to take your scissors and you are going to cut around the dotted line. You do not want to cut on the dotted line because this dotted line is going to be your guide for when you're sewing. So do not cut on the dotted line. Cut around the dotted line. If you have any kind of solid lines, you can cut directly on those lines. And now you have 2 pieces of fabric which will make one puppet body. For the second step of creating the puppet body, you will need a pair of scissors, a ruler, a needle, thread, a piece of paper a very tiny piece of paper that is folded hot dog style, 5 pieces of tape, and your 2 cut out pieces of fabric for your body. The first thing that you need to do is take both pieces of cut out fabric and place them together. Please make sure that they match up and that your dotted lines are on the outside. The dotted lines are going to be a guide as you sew all the way around. The next thing that you will need to do is take the 5 pieces of tape. You are going to be taping the neck together, folding the tape over to the other side to secure it. 1 on each hand. And 2 at the base, where your hand is going to be placed once your puppet is finished. These pieces of tape will secure them together, secure your 2 pieces together while you're sewing. You can set this to the side. The next thing that you will need is your needle, thread, and the small piece of paper that is folded hot dog style, scissors, and a ruler. Now for your thread, you want 24 inches, which will fit right around one side. You'll be doing one side at a time. This side, then this side. You want to take your string and you want to measure with the ruler 24 inches. Now this ruler is 12 inches on one side, so you can just wrap it around without cutting it. Cut it off, and now you have your 24 inches. After you've cut your 24 inches of string, you're going to take this folded piece of paper, place the end inside of the fold, and then place this entire piece of paper with the string inside of it through the eye of your needle. Pull it all the way through and make sure that you leave about 3 to 4 inches to the side, just like this. The longer end, you are then going to place a knot. The very first thing you want to do with this knot, create a circle. Then you want to take this free end and you want to wrap it around once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, through the circle, and pull. Wrapping it around that many times will give you a nice large knot, so when you begin sewing, the string won't pop through the fabric. After you have that knot, you may begin sewing. You'll be sewing one side at a time. Start by placing your needle at the very bottom, pushing it all the way through until that knot hits the fabric. Then, right beside where you left off, you are going to push through, making sure that you stay on that dotted line. Notice how my stitch is not large. We want to keep our stitches small and close together. Look at where you left off, push through, making sure you stay with that dotted line. And that your stitches are not far apart. Where you left off, push through. My stitches are not large and they're placed close together. Where you left off, push through. Right next to it. Where I left off, push through. Stay on the dotted line. Push through. Where I left off, push through. Right beside where I left off, push through, and continue on, making sure that you are staying right next to the dotted, right on the dotted line. My stitches are small and close together. The reason why I want them small and close together is so that whenever we take this apart, there aren't any large gaps, large holes that are in my stitching. We want to make sure that these two pieces of fabric have a nice secure hold together. If it does not look like the examples that I have for you on each table, what you're going to have to do is take your string out of the eye of the needle, and then you are going to have to backtrack, taking all of the stitches out, or whatever stitch was large or not placed close together, and then you have to start over again by placing the end of the string inside of the little piece of folded paper, placing the piece of paper with the string through the eye of the needle, and then you can continue sewing where you left off. If you accidentally do not sew right beside where you left off and you went around and you have a stitch that looks like this that is wrapping around the edge, you got to do the same thing. Take this off of the needle, take your needle, pull that stitch out, and then continue on sewing. Remove the tape before you sew. Make sure that you do not pull the string too hard and bunch up the fabric. Your fabric needs to stay nice and flat. You're going to sew all the way to the tip top of the side of the neck and stop. Now you need to create a knot to secure the other end of your string. This is a tricky part. So the very first thing that you need to do is make sure that all of your stitches are nice and even, small, and placed close together. Make sure that none of your stitches are bunching up the fabric. We want it to stay nice and flat. Then what you're going to do, you're going to place your needle and push it through just a little bit of the fabric. Just like this. Pull it almost all the way through, leaving a loop for yourself. Then what you're going to do is you're going to wrap and push your needle through the hole once, twice, 3 times, wrapping it through that loop and pulling. You want to kind of hold that knot down as you pull the rest of your string. Now that you have a nice knot that secures the other end of your string, you can take your scissors, cut off the excess of the string, and you're done with one side. You're going to do the second side the same exact way. Please make sure that you do not sew the neck or the hand hole. This is what it will look like whenever it's finished. You have sewn one side and the other side, leaving the neck hole open, the hand hole open, and then you can take one arm, flip it in right side in, folding it inside out, popping out the neck, and now you have your completed body.